Nobody sits you down and tells you your home was toxic. There's no announcement, no warning label on the front door. You just grew up there. You thought it was normal, because when you've never seen anything different, normal is whatever you lived. But here's the thing about toxic environments. They don't just shape your childhood. They write the code your adult brain runs on. The way you handle conflict, the way you ask for things, the way you shrink in certain rooms and explode in others, the way love feels like a trap and silence feels like danger. These aren't personality traits. They're behaviors, learned behaviors, and they came from somewhere. Today, I'm going to show you 5 of them. Not to make you angry at where you came from, but to help you finally understand why you are the way you are. Behavior 1. You treat conflict like a 5-alarm emergency. Someone raises their voice even slightly, and your entire nervous system goes into emergency mode. Heart rate up, thoughts scatter. You either shut completely down, go into people-pleasing overdrive, or come out swinging before they can. And later, when you reflect on it, you think, that was a completely disproportionate reaction. And you're right, but it wasn't disproportionate to what conflict used to mean. In homes where conflict was unpredictable, explosive, or dangerous, the brain wires conflict itself as a threat signal, not just the content of the argument, but the tone, the volume, even the silence before it. The nervous system learned when tension appears, brace for impact. That wiring doesn't auto-update when you leave home. It runs in the background of every disagreement you have as an adult, turning small arguments into existential threats your body needs to survive. A partner says, "We need to talk," and your stomach drops like a stone. A manager uses a firm tone in an email, and you spend 3 hours reading it for subtext. A friend goes quiet, and you immediately assume you've done something catastrophic. Being the first person to apologize even when you did nothing wrong just to make the tension stop. Physically leaving your body during a disagreement because staying in it feels too dangerous. Your reaction is not an overreaction. It is a perfectly calibrated response to a different environment. The problem isn't the sensitivity of your alarm system. The problem is it hasn't been recalibrated for the life you're actually living now. Conflict can exist without catastrophe. Your body just hasn't learned that yet.
Behavior 2. You can't ask for things. You would rather struggle in silence for 3 weeks than ask one person for help. You'd rather go without, figure it out alone, burn out completely than put your need in front of someone and risk what comes after. And what comes after, in your head, is always the same: being told no, being made to feel like a burden, or worse, being helped and then having it held over you forever. In toxic homes, having needs was often punished, directly or indirectly. Needs were met with sighs, guilt trips, withdrawal, or conditions. Children in these environments learned that dependency is dangerous and self-sufficiency is survival. The rule becomes, need nothing from anyone, and no one can use it against you. Decades later, that rule still governs every request you can't seem to make. Spending 20 minutes figuring out directions rather than asking someone nearby. Struggling with a work task for days rather than asking a colleague. Never telling a partner what you actually want because the words physically won't come out. Saying, "I'm fine," when you are clearly not fine and meaning it as a complete answer. Apologizing before every request you do manage to make. The silent suffering that always feels safer than the asking. Asking for help says, "I trust you enough to let me in." In secure environments, asking is intimacy, it's connection. The people in your life who genuinely care about you don't experience your needs as a burden. They experience them as an invitation. The fear of asking wasn't born in you, it was taught, and what was taught can be unlearned. Behavior 3. You over-explain everything. You make a decision, any decision, and before anyone even reacts, you're already defending it, explaining why you did it, what your reasoning was, why it made sense, anticipating every possible objection and dismantling it preemptively. Nobody asked, nobody even raised an eyebrow, but the internal cross-examination started the moment you made the choice. You are your own harshest prosecutor. When children grow up constantly scrutinized, where their choices were regularly questioned, criticized, or invalidated, they internalize that scrutinizing voice. It becomes the inner critic. It preempts external judgment by delivering it first. The excessive explanation isn't insecurity, it's a defense strategy. If I explain it thoroughly enough, I can prevent the attack. Over-justification is armor built for a war that no longer requires you to fight it. Texting 3 paragraphs to explain why you can't make an event when "I can't make it" would have been completely fine. Adding "sorry" before every opinion. Prefacing every decision with "I know this might seem weird, but..." Explaining your food order to the server. Justifying why you bought something to people who didn't ask. Editing a message 7 times before sending it. The constant background hum of "I need to prove this choice was acceptable." You don't owe anyone a dissertation on your choices. Most of the people around you right now aren't judging you the way the voice in your head is judging you. That voice learned its standards in a home where standards were weaponized. You are allowed to make a decision and just let it exist, without a case file attached.
Behavior 4. You confuse intensity with love. Healthy relationships, the ones where someone is consistently kind, reliably present, genuinely steady, they feel flat to you. Boring, almost suspicious. But chaotic relationships, relationships with push and pull, hot and cold, explosive fights followed by intense reconciliations, those feel electric. They feel like love. They feel like the most alive you've ever been. And that feeling is one of the most dangerous legacies of a toxic upbringing. Intermittent reinforcement, the most powerful conditioning schedule in all of psychology. When love in your home was unpredictable, sometimes warm, sometimes withholding, sometimes cruel, the moments of warmth became neurologically supercharged. The brain releases more dopamine in anticipation of an unpredictable reward than a guaranteed one. Chaos became the texture of love. Consistency, by contrast, feels like nothing because it never produced that neurological hit. Breaking up and getting back together 3 times and calling it passion. Feeling most connected to a partner right after a huge fight. Leaving a stable, caring relationship because something felt missing. Then dating someone chaotic and feeling intensely alive again. The person who treats you well feeling like they're not trying hard enough. The person who keeps you guessing feeling like destiny. Being addicted to the makeup, not the person. What you experienced as love growing up was love mixed with fear, uncertainty, and relief. The relief of the good moments was so intense because the bad ones were so present. Calm, consistent love doesn't produce that relief because it doesn't produce the preceding dread. It isn't boring, it's just what love looks like when it's not trying to survive. You were never taught to recognize that. You can learn it. But first, you have to stop mistaking the wound for the spark. Behavior 5. Happiness feels wrong. Life is going well. You have good things, good people, maybe even real happiness starting to root in. And instead of relaxing into it, you feel guilty. Not just anxious that it will end, actually guilty, like you don't deserve it. Like accepting good things means you've somehow abandoned the person you used to be, or the people you came from, or the struggle that defined you for so long. Joy, for you, comes with a tax. In toxic or chaotic homes, suffering is the shared currency. It's what binds people together. When one family member struggles, everyone struggles. And when you escape that and begin to thrive, the unconscious mind experiences a form of guilt analogous to survivor guilt. There's also a more direct mechanism. If joy was rare or fleeting in your home, the brain never established well-being as a stable baseline. It treats happiness as the exception, something borrowed, not owned. Getting a promotion and immediately thinking of a family member who is struggling and feeling wrong for celebrating. Being in a genuinely happy relationship and spending the first year waiting for it to fall apart. Achieving something significant and deflecting every single congratulation. Feeling more comfortable talking about your struggles than your wins. Shrinking your joy around certain people so they don't feel bad. Success that always somehow has an asterisk.
Your thriving is not a betrayal of where you came from. You are not required to stay in struggle, to stay loyal to your story. The people who love you, the ones worth keeping, do not need you to suffer alongside them to feel connected to you. And the ones that do, that is the exact dynamic that created this pattern in the first place. You are allowed to be well. Not someday, not once you've earned it. Now, as you are, with everything you've been through, still intact.
5 behaviors. And if you've been nodding along, I want to say something directly to you. None of this means you are permanently shaped by where you came from. It means you were shaped by it. Past tense. The brain is not a fixed thing. The patterns laid down in childhood are real, but they are not concrete. They are more like deep grooves in soft ground. Walk the same path enough times, and the groove gets deeper. Choose a different path, deliberately, repeatedly, and the ground begins to shift. Here is what I want you to take away today. The home you grew up in was not your fault. The patterns it created in you were not your fault. But what you do with those patterns, now that you can see them, that part belongs to you. Understanding where a behavior came from doesn't excuse it forever. It gives you the starting point to change it. And that starting point, you just found it. Which of these 5 behaviors do you recognize in yourself? Comment below, numbers 1 through 5, or all of them. I read every single comment on this channel. If this video helped you understand something about yourself that's been confusing for a long time, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for someone is show them they're not alone. Subscribe for more. New video every week. I'll see you in the next one.